How's Mass Effect?
Yes. Okay, we can go there next. Uh, I got cleanup to do, right? So for anyone that might have missed it, so I hit the credits on Mass Effect 2. I
Which is
still
not
have
the end.
I still have to go do Arrival, and I still have to
Yep.
go do the final missions. But I did do the suicide mission.
Yeah, Arrival's the
Um,
the the only like important part.
Phew. I mean, so I think I probably did one of my patented Wooly talk moments
Woolieisms.
that I'm sure some will be exhausted by, although people were pretty like they got it, because I wanted to kind of break down the difference between the types of failures I was prepared for,
Right.
the types that I'm willing to accept
Yep.
versus what feels like robbery.
That okay. So like you have actually like your trip through this game has actually been, I'm gonna say, ideologically cleaner than most people's, right? Because you've been playing it according to like what you actually want to do rather than falling into the gameplay design that BioWare made for all their games where you just hit the red or the blue button,
Hmm.
right? So I commend that. However, you're completely right when you say a outcome that you're willing to accept, because parts of the suicide mission, first of all, in Mass Effect 2 is fairly complex. There's a lot of moving parts that add to different things. There's the ship upgrades, there's who you pick for what job, there's the
Yep.
loyalty level of who you pick for what job,
Yeah.
and sometimes people who aren't even loyal can still do just fine
Interesting.
on certain things. Like the biotic, I think fucking Jack does fine,
Okay.
even if she's not loyal. And then there's the fucking the
Hold
hold
the
the line.
line.
Then there's send them back to the ship. Then there's who you bring with you. Except there's a lot of little moving parts, right? Some of those parts are given to you in clear, very obvious choices, and it's up to you to make a good or bad choice. But the
Yes.
choice that you're making is is not that the solution is obvious. It's just that what it's actually asking of you is extremely clear. Hey, you need a tech head to go into the vent.
Right.
Okay, maybe I should take somebody with technical expertise. Hey, you
Yes.
need a fire team leader who is an expert at leading soldiers. Okay, well, there's
Yes.
two very, etc. However, and this is where I knew you would. I knew this was going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
unless me or Dad Asana just literally told you outright,
Mm-hmm.
the hold the line section makes perfect. And people will argue with this, just like they've been arguing with me about this for like 10 years. People will argue that holding the line makes sense because what you should do is put all your heavy hitters on the line to defend, and you should have all the strongest boys do it, and there's no reason to send a heavy hitter back to the ship with them or whatever. That's nonsense. They forget that, hey, you're playing a video game and you're gonna go fight the fucking final boss. So the feeling is that maybe I should take some strong party members with me to fight the final boss because I didn't anticipate the final boss to be a joke.
So there's that. There's absolutely the first time viewing of that type of scenario being like, yes, a conclusion. But also, there could have been a sequence of party choice after that moment. Like the
Hmm.
final one might not have been the final one. So
Yeah.
rolling forward, it was kind of just like, and you're never sure what to read into the invisible of what the game's asking you. But as you mentioned, the thing about it's telegraphing you what specialists should go where, and those are clear choices. The idea that there's a hold the line mechanic and the aggression level and the strength of the people that stand and protect the party. The idea that that's happening in the background, you are thinking about sending back your rescued team members with someone that can protect them. And I can just as easily have someone sit here and say, "What, did you think sending someone weak was going to work? Obviously they needed protecting."
Oh no, here's the best part about that, Wooly. That fucking factor, the only thing it checks is loyalty. It has no actual attack defense value at all. So the traditional wisdom is send Morden back because he's the one with the lowest
Useless.
defense in the hold the line segment.
Right.
And so when I played the game, I said, well, who'd you send down the fence? I assume Tally.
I said Tali. Yeah.
Who'd you send in the biotics? Some Jack probably.
I did Samara first, and
Samara.
then
Okay. So
yeah.
I did Samara also. So we made the same picks, right? And then I get to the hold the line, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to go fight the final boss. Who should I bring with me? Okay, I'll bring Garrus and Grunt with me because they're the strongest party members.
Right.
And I'll
Right.
send fucking
Right.
Zaid back with the fucking crew because
Yeah.
he's badass. He'll protect the crew.
He'll protect the
which
crew.
leads to what? Morden dying.
Yeah.
Morden dies. Morden dies in all scenarios that aren't perfect.
Okay. And
All scenarios that are not perfect, Morden always dies, which is fucked because he's the most important character in Mass Effect 3 in your party.
interesting. So I was looking at Morden on that team of like choices that have to be made at each encounter as at some point something is going to call for science expertise. Right? I'm like, I don't know, but maybe there will be a moment where you're going to want a Morden or perhaps a Legion to deal with the situation and handle it appropriately, right? It's the type of thing where he's such a specialist in what he does that the fact that it's totally plausible that they would call for that, but they never do. And so you just get this moment, right? So yes, you end up feeling robbed. And
I think the worst part is one that you didn't encounter because everyone's going to run through that game with full loyalty. They're going to try anyway in the modern era, right? But back in the day, people, they didn't get their Paragon or Renegade high enough, so like Miranda or Jack or Tally or Legion, didn't have enough loyalty because they fight, right? The worst part, by far, is that when you're running to the ship, right, and you're like, oh, we're going to make the big jump, right? That's when loyalty kicks in for your party. For the party that you took with you to the final boss. And if they're not loyal, they won't make the jump to the ship. They'll fucking fall and die. And it's like, okay, this is now really absurd.
So anybody you pick to bring with you,
if they're not loyal, they fall down a pit and die because they didn't believe in you enough to run faster.
Wow.
And
okay, so like everyone can die.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Including Shepard.
Wow.
if the whole gang dies, if the whole gang dies, then Shepard also bites it, and the game literally tells you and goes, "Listen, man, you're gonna want to reload that save. You really fucked it because you can't import this."
Jesus Christ.
It's terrible. So what happens? The coolest moment in Mass Effect history that you're supposed to run through because the stakes always leads to a situation where you read up on it and go, oh, that's fucking bullshit. That's not fair. And you do it again. And since you do it again so that everybody survives perfectly so that you can roll in Mass Effect 3. And Mass Effect 3 assumes that you have Tally and Morden alive, who are the two first to go because they have lowest defense values. So Mass Effect 3 assumes you re-ran your run to keep everybody alive.
Man, I was so shocked with like how like competent things, like there's moments of bullshit happening, but in the general you're like things are in there's a momentum to what's going on here, and like every other choice that you could fail up until that one with the hold the line system was one that I would accept because the way I was kind of explaining it was, if it's a failure where I walk up to the line and I drop the ball, I will hold that. For example, the Morden choice.
Yeah, right? Sure. Right.
I made that choice. We talked about it afterwards.
And you're going to roll through and see what happens.
Because I did that. And when you compare it to the first fucking game, right? Yeah. Even if things don't turn out the way you want to with Rex, you're the one doing that conversation. It's not a hidden mechanic. It's based on what you've done. Furthermore, when you give the choice, when you have the next choice, which is Kaiden or Ashley, right? Yeah. You get to pick between the two, but there's a series of like backing off moments of like you kind of know you're abandoning someone right now.
You could go back and save the other one if you really want to.
You only get one, but you're walking away from the other one, and you feel like you're walking away from them. So you live with those choices, you internalize them, and you move forward with it, right?
Yeah, no, the Mass Effect 2. And the worst part is if it was all hidden bullshit and there were like a million different factors, and it was really in depth, I guess that would be one thing.
That would be one thing. Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually really clear and obvious, except for this one part.
Yeah.
That's totally obtuse and totally opaque.
I even got a line that's apparently rare when I asked Jacob what he thought of the crew's chances, and he went, you know.
I mean, of course it's rare. Who's going to talk to Jacob?
You know, but like the absolute like the thing that I'm always I'm prepared for, and the reason why, even when I was talking to Reggie about the playthrough of 1 and just going like, okay, so whatever happens, right? Because you walk up to the line on those choices. And this is just, they took it from you. It feels bad. It doesn't feel like you've earned it, or it doesn't feel like you failed. It just feels like you didn't know about a secret mechanic that was put in to perhaps trip you up for sure. It's like Reggie asked, is this rigged? And I'm like, I'm having a hard time looking
rigged
at it as if it's not rigged unless you know what's coming, because it's so easy to fuck up that whole line point sequence. It's so easy.
And I don't know anybody who actually did it first try. And I know I'm going to look over to the scrolling chat list and see people go, well, I did it just fine the first time. It's like,
the scrolling chat was screaming about how they all redid their shit back in the day, and then you and Paige sent the messages like, bruh, like, oh dude, this is what it is, you know.
So Mass Effect 2, now that you've gone through the suicide mission, Mass Effect 2 and the long wait for Mass Effect 3 created like the weirdest situation ever, in which people that like really were into Mass Effect were like, well, I want 4 save files. I want all Renegade, everybody alive. I want all Paragon, everybody alive. I want all Paragon, everybody dead, and all Paragon, all Renegade, everybody dead. And so you end up going through 4, 5, 6 playthroughs of both games, which leads into Mass Effect 3 not taking those choices into account very well and going,
why did you bother?
Come on. And so the complicated nature of the suicide mission means they were going to expect that most people were probably going to roll in with 1 person dead, 2 people dead. And as a result, your crew's interactions with Mass Effect 3 are going to be weirdly limited, even when they shouldn't be, because they may not be there.
It was so interesting to have like my state of mind going into the final mission, especially since they call it the suicide run, right? I'm going in preparing for Vermeer. That's what I did. I prepared for Vermeer, and as each thing went down, it was like, okay, it's tense, but it's doing its job of like, oh fuck, okay, who's it gonna be?
And the music is incredible.
There's a whole lot of people on this group, and I like them, and I know we're not all gonna make it. And okay, who's it gonna be? You know, but just that little fucking hoodwink, and it's funny because I only saw one person. There was one person who said, I don't know, like I think the idea of the like, I think it's obvious that you want to have the toughest people with the group, you know, or whatever, and that with the whole line system. And it's like, you're the one person who you're looking at this in a way where, from a game design perspective, the moment you're asking the player to take into account something that they've never had to take into account at all before in the game, and you never even like direct their attention towards the possibility of thinking about it, is bad. It's a poor thing to do.
There's real problems with that, because in gameplay, every party member is functionally the same strength as every other party member.
Exactly. You're never meant in any mission to distinguish between having Warden or Grunt on your team, because when it comes to killing the enemies in the room and getting
They're
to
good
the
at
next
it.
room, they'll do it. So your party, despite their specialities, is functionally the same strength.
Yeah, whereas if you want to talk about who's the best leader for a squad, you're like, oh, okay, well, Miranda and fucking Yaris, those seem like obvious
You
picks.
know,
They're natural leaders. It's part of their history and their personality. Somebody in the chat just pointed out you could put a single line of dialogue in the game and would completely fix everything, and it would literally be, hey, we're gonna be fighting an endless horde of dudes while you fight the boss. You should leave the heaviest hitters here to hold the
like
line.
I was just about to say, you could have put it in the game earlier. You could have put it in the game in another mission. You could have done something to get the player to think about the difference between the strength of their soldiers, right?
In canon, like in canon,
in
Morden actually
yes,
sucks at fighting compared to
not
Grunt.
just gameplay. Exactly. And if you had that, and then it was like, oh, I remember during the Shadow Broker mission where, okay, I went in with my part, I went in alone, but I had to pick two people who would like stand guard for me to get back. You know, whatever it is, but just some
Yeah,
moments in the game to get you to think about that, then it wouldn't be such a fucking,
yeah,
you pulled
because
the
the
rug from under
optimal
me.
solution is, hey man, you're gonna fight a human reaper. Oh my god. Make sure to bring the two canonically weakest members on your team. Like, what the fuck?
So
What kind of
that's,
logic is that?
yeah, or bring your favorites because you like hanging out with your favorites, you
Yeah.
know? If you want to roll with fucking you know, Luca and Robo, you're going to roll with them cuz you like them, you
It's
know?
funny because they should have actually, like, the solution would have been to have Shepard fight the boss by himself.
And just cut that out entirely.
And
That
just
would
cut
be
that
interesting.
entire part out, but that
Yeah.
would make the gameplay worse. Also,
Yeah.
hey, that final boss is fucking terrible. Holy shit.
It's
Holy shit.
like I'm looking at it, and it's funny because I was trying to snipe at it with the Super Scope 6 because that's an armor melter, but it's moving too fast for it, and I was like, okay, it's leaning up and it's doing its things, and yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know, I guess I felt like I felt like the fights earlier on with the big mechs
Uh-huh.
had more to them, you know.
It's
Um,
just like,
yeah,
hey man, you're gonna fight the ultimate life form, and it's like a ugly Terminator baby, and you're like,
yeah.
wait, is the plan for the Reapers to have like a ugly Terminator baby floating through space?
But I was kind of also preparing for either one of two final challenges. I was either preparing for a shoot the big meaty red button on the wall with all
Yeah.
your ammo, or like while the countdown timer goes off, kill all the hordes, you know,
Yeah.
type of situation. And in any case, though, I mean, this is what it is, and yeah, so we ran it back, and it's just because it really does feel like, as Reggie's putting it, like it's rigged. It just feels like you the game wants you to go in blindly tripping over your fucking dick and having something terrible happen there.
It's funny because the game does actually try and fuck with you with like a hidden condition on the ending sequence in like the order that you take to get to the mission.
Mhm.
Like, do you go to the final mission pretty much right away, or do you finish off
Yeah,
Legion's loyalty mission
even
and
that.
then dick around? And it's like, yeah. And so here's the thing. That is actually extremely well telegraphed, but not spelled out for you. Where they go, we don't know what they're doing to people. Man, Shepard, you want to go get the people? Oh, it sucks that they got kidnapped. And like there's
So
a obvious logic of we should probably go right now and save the crew or not.
So that whole thing was interesting because I found out after the fact that it's like, yeah, you have that moment go down, and then you're supposed to be like, the longer you take, the worse it's going to get, right? They're going to push you towards doing things. And Legion, you just got him, so you should do his loyalty, right? But I managed to do Legion's loyalty immediately after getting him before that sequence happened.
So there is so when I was rerunning the game on my stream, because I had already beaten Mass Effect 2, I wanted to do some zany shit with stuff. So the basic reality is that there's there are two missions you can take before your team turns into goo. Usually you get Legion, and then you get your fucking loyalty mission. But it's counting up like every mission from a certain point,
Hmm.
and there is a bunch of really, and I mean really careful finagling of like what mission you're gonna do in what order, and then when you're gonna go get the IFF and what side missions you're gonna do, so that you can do zany shit like take Legion to Tally's trial.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, and stuff, or take, or whatnot, and it basically, it's it's finicky. Legion's removal from the beginning of the game and being put at the dead ass end of the game is the worst part of Mass Effect 2, because he has unique dialogue for every single mission you can bring him on.
Okay, so I was informed a bit more about this. Apparently, that is less about him supposing to be earlier on, and it's more about they designed all the characters not knowing when they would happen, and they
Mm.
made them all compatible with all missions.
I believe there is even dialogue for him on missions he can't go on,
Okay. Yeah.
because
So
like the really early stuff.
yeah, and that's I've been told that everyone was made to fit into all places because they didn't know what that order was going to be until later.
Yeah, it
You
sucks
know,
because Legion is so fucking cool,
he is, but I
and
do,
he plays healer.
but he does. I do say, yeah, yeah, that's great.
He plays. He's a healer main in MMO.
Well, the
What?
first thing, though, like after shit popped off, I wanted to go land on Shadow Broker Planet to go look at his files, and then it was like, wait, no, that might count as time. And I was like, it's not a mission. I just want to go look at a computer. Is that going to count as
It's a
time?
mess. It's
You
a
know?
mess,
And then it's
dude.
like, who knows if it does or doesn't. But yeah, the one thing that I did say when we got him is that like he definitely is better off not being early. He's better off being in the middle of the narrative because again, you get to recontextualize, and it would have been too much right off the bat with the resurrection of you and Cerberus, and now we got to go back and look at the whole first game through a different lens, you know. But yeah, in the end, I'm looking at with the way this kind of concluded, and it is something that I do feel is happening, and it's understandable. But it feels like when you watch a show and there's a really compelling, but there's a really compelling, terrifying threat that needs to be dealt with immediately in the first episode and then the first season, right? Perhaps your Samurai Jack Aku style like showdown, or even the way I've been saying it in this game is winter's coming, right?
Right.
What that represents, the Night King in Game of Thrones, is an unknowable force that'll just destroy everything. It's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And then as we move forward in time, we complete the first game, and you are shown a taste of that threat, but you handle one of them, and you go, "Holy fuck!" It would be pretty scary if we had to deal with more than one.
Yeah.
And
It'd be bad. It'd be real bad.
And so now we move into 2, where it's like, okay, I am pumped for how we're going to take on this super unknowable, crazy threat, right? A tech god awaits us.
And then we're just gonna not do that.
And the Reapers kind of pawn off the entire antagonist role to collectors and other organisms, and you kind of are now dealing with like, well, there's Harbinger, and he's going to deal with these collector body things, and we need something for you to shoot at that's human sized, right? So as long as you're
Hey,
fighting
let me
these
tell you something.
human sized,
Mass Effect 3 has a massive fucking problem.
okay,
With you need to have a human-sized thing to shoot.
because in my head I'm like, motherfucker, we're looking at the Reapers. I'm waiting on the Reapers. We gotta go deal with that problem. And it's like, but here's some things in the way. And it feels like the Reapers are like running away like Liquid Ocelot and shoving soldiers in front of you, as you're chasing them, because that big moment is going to be huge. But in a Game of Thrones kind of way, well, here you got to get some White Walkers first. So the collectors as a whole are like, oh shit, they used to be Protheans. That's kind of nuts. But also, fuck that, Reapers though.
So I think so. Mass Effect 2 is a great game, and I really like it. However, what you're describing is the big problem with Mass Effect. And the big problem with Mass Effect is, think about how much of Mass Effect 2 that you played actually has anything to do with the ostensible main plot at all. Almost none. Almost none. I'm talking like sub 5%. Right? Because you can even say, like, the collectors are stealing humanity. No. That doesn't actually have anything to do with the Reapers at all.
Yeah.
Right?
I can tell you exactly. It comes up when your team is arguing and you want them to shut up. You go, guys, winter's coming.
So here's the issue, right?
Shut the fuck up.
Mass Effect 2 is a filler episode. Like, you can actually jump straight from 1 to 3.
Sure.
And be like, yeah, time passed in the middle, right? The problem is that of that 90% of content where you're not dealing with a galaxy-spanning threat, it's the best the game ever gets. Ever. When you're like, hey, there's this Justicar, we gotta go get her. She's crazy. She kills people. Wow. What does that have to do with the Reapers? Nothing. Is it cool? Yeah, because now we're gonna go on a fucking secret club date to go find her vampire daughter and all that shit. That's awesome.
Dude. Nappa and the Prince of all Saiyans have landed on the planet and they're killing people. We gotta go. But first, here's some Cybermen they planted. Right?
Oh, you know what I
Cell is waiting at the fucking games for the tournament to decide the fate of the planet. But first, here's a couple of Cell Juniors.
Dude, you know what I actually thought you were gonna say? Because listen. Cell is going to destroy the planet in 7 days. We all have to get really strong. Oh, but first, hey Piccolo, Chi-Chi's been hassling me about this. Do you want to go get our driver's license? And think about hey, you know what? I would rather watch that driver's license episode of Dragon Ball than the fucking hyperbolic time chamber shit.
The thing is, I go to Cybermen and Cell Juniors because it's like technically a Reaper is creating this problem.
Yeah.
It's just that it's throwing some little bullshit in front of you while you're like, I'm trying to stop universal annihilation. Can we
really
focus on the main thread here?
It's really strange. Mass Effect 2 is absolutely filler. It's absolutely filler.
I felt like we got lost in the weeds, and I feel like when I met Anderson at the beginning of the game, and I found out that the Citadel just treated everything like, there's just a big Geth attack. Don't worry about it. None of that happened. That's some bullshit, right?
Thank you, darling.
It felt like the fact that they just kind of lied and said everyone's not gonna believe it, it's crazy, we're wasting time, 2 years have gone by and nothing in preparation for Reapers has been done. It's kind of like, yeah, I guess they were right. I guess they did have time. You know what I mean? I guess it wasn't as urgent as it seemed. Yeah, so
this dichotomy of filler, good, main story, not as good, is gonna hit a peak in 3, because 3 is like laser focused on the main plot.
Okay.
And as a result, it's like it's kind of a downer. Like,
okay.
It's just kind of, like there's a lot of war.
I mean, so I'm looking forward to seeing where learning more about the world and where things go, because like now that I know the background, the settings, and the political details of like how every conflict has two sides, and now that we've learned Mass Effect is about introducing you to the other side, right? Here's the Krogan side, here's the Geth side, right? You can after the initial setup, cool. Yeah. Where does that go forward, right? That's going to be interesting to find out, and that's something that that's cool enough in and of itself. But I don't know how to say this and like get I want no reaction almost from anybody, right?
All right, I can do that.
I want a stone ass face, but I'll say this.
Hold on. I can fix this. And just fucking.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I want the stone face. the big threat, like many other movies, animes, games, etc.,
Right.
involves something that is unfathomably threatening, but fortunately, they're all asleep. So the goal would be to not have to deal with that threat if it ever arose.
Right.
Therefore, in a convenient movie action gamey way, if only some sort of button would be pressed that made all the if you shoot the mother brain and all the clones around the world that are killing everybody suddenly just cease to function, that type of thing. You know, that type of easy sort of cop out thing is kind of like.
I have a question as to clarify.
Yeah.
When you describe the main antagonist is asleep, what are you referring to exactly?
Sorry, hold on. BRB. Sorry, delivery came to the door, and I'm not letting that
no
fucker
worries.
run away.
Okay, no worries.
Yes, you're saying.
What are you describing personally when you describe the problem or the antagonist as being asleep?
Well, the Reapers are waiting for us to hit that point of advanced at an advanced level so that they can come through the Citadel and just kill us all. And the current thing we know about the Reapers is that they're dormant and they are waiting around to like wake up and annihilate everything like they did in the past.
So I'm actually going to have to stop you there. I know you wanted a stone-faced reaction, but that is actually a fairly critical misunderstanding of what is actually happening by the time you hit the credits in Mass Effect 2. In Mass Effect 1, the primary purpose of Sovereign's plan is to teleport them into, Citadel space via the Citadel mass relay.
Yeah.
Right? And then you fuck that mass relay up, therefore they can't. The instant that occurs, they all are awake and start moving towards the Milky Way galaxy via conventional faster than light travel. And in the Mass Effect 2 ending, when you see the shot at them,
I saw the shot.
That is them being fairly close to the Milky Way using conventional faster than light travel. The situation you're describing, no, they are awake.
Okay.
The issue is that you're looking at a doomsday clock, essentially, of time between the Germans hit the lines.
Okay. I saw that shot as here they are, any minute now.
No, they're literally driving to your house to beat your ass.
Okay. My
It
mistake.
just takes a while to get here from Texas.
I see. I read that as like Sovereign's like landing on the beach ahead of time was foiled by the destruction of the teleporter. But
no,
like
you just screwed up. You screwed up their car, so they got to take the bus.
Right, but I thought that the process of stopping him stopped them from awakening, because like Sovereign was the one of the ones that was left alive in order to alert them when the time comes.
No. As soon as Sovereign gets blown up and all that shit, they all wake up and they
Gotcha.
They start moving.
Okay, never mind then. All right.
Yeah, that's a completely
yeah.
No.
Okay, because that's I just kind of had a moment of like I'm trying to think of an example because I know there's so many of them, but that thing, right, where you see.
I know what you're talking. No, so what you're actually talking about is the 19 fucking 94, 95 episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation called Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, in which the Borg attack Federation space, and then Data and Picard trick them into going to sleep, which is the basis for the Reapers, by the way. Like the everything about the Borg threats and the way your technological and cultural distinctiveness will be added to our own. It's a Borg send up. But in that particular case, yeah, no, it's one Borg cube showing up, whereas the Reapers is actually fairly clearly defined as like, no, there's like thousands of sovereigns, which is why everyone gets to be all freaked out about it, and why it's so infuriating that no one's doing anything about it, because you can't fight off 4,000 sovereigns.
Yeah, but so that's why my brain goes to like the sort of obvious storytelling structure of like an Independence Day style defeat of your enemy. You know, the moment you walk through, I don't know, like
send up of that same episode.
okay. Like I'm like, you know, the moment that like the villain is kind of like taking the hero through a tour of a factory of an army of Metal Gear Rexes, you know, or
don't hit this button that gives them all AIDS.
Like, and that's the thing, is exactly when you see the impossible and you go, okay, like the stakes have now become like ridiculous, but also like where's the one button, right? Where's the one thing, you know? So that's what I kind of was thinking about there. All right, interesting.
Are you familiar with the trailer / setup to what Mass Effect 3 is about?
Not at all. Not at all.
Fascinating.
I mean, I definitely saw it back when it first came out, but I have no context, so I don't.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I eagerly await your thoughts on Arrival next week, because Arrival is one of the most interesting of those DLCs.
The only thing I know is when I moused over Mass Effect 3 on the launcher, the icon for that game started showing what looked like comets falling. And that's it.
I am going to tell you something from an interview that came out 3 or 4 months after Mass Effect 2 came out. Because there's something in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 that people were like fairly like bothered that they didn't get to see. And I understand, which is, hey, what does Earth look like?
Oh.
Like what does Earth look like?
That didn't bother me.
And they said, quote, "We have something very special planned."
Okay. That didn't bother me because in the first game, if I remember correctly, when you get back to the Milky Way and you kind of not the Milky Way, when you get back to Sol, right, and you start looking through all of our planets, you're like, it's kind of funny how unremarkable it all is. Yeah. And I kind of found that charming, you know. Yeah. And then in the second game, well, you do have the moon mission, but
but that's I mean, that's the Earth from space. You know,
right.
that's.
And then in the second game, you have a more detailed breakdown of some of that stuff, and then you have the Kasumi DLC, which shows you artifacts that straight up spell out major Earth history moments. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine too.
It's just this weird detail, like specifically, I don't want to know what's going on Earth. I want to know, what does Earth look like? What is human?
What is it?
You go to,
where
you go
are they
to
at?
You go to Ilium. You go to you go to the Citadel. Like literally, like what does it look like? And the answer is, you see exactly what sci-fi shows they watched right before doing the art on it.
Okay. Does it look as crazy as Ilium, or is it just fucking?
No, it's dude. There's like a couple Star Trek episodes you could just point to and be like,
well,
there's Star Trek fans out there who are watching this podcast live, and I'm like, hey guys, do you know that fucking establishing shot of fucking Starfleet HQ they have in San Fran that they cut to 80 times in TNG? Yeah, it's that, and they're gonna go, oh yeah, it does look just like that.
I can't. I mean, again, to reiterate, I don't care that much because there's something kind of charming to. It doesn't matter. I know it's your frame of reference because it's your home planet and it's the thing you really want to know about. But also,
it may not be Shepard's home planet.
Right. Right, but no, I mean the viewer, right? I know
Yeah.
it's like you're looking for an anchor, but there's almost something to like you're in space. This is a space story. Don't worry about Earth. You know,
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. You know,
space future is about like
you're
where you're from is
you're
less important
lost.
than your specific culture.
Yeah, we're floating through space here. It doesn't matter.
Space
You
is
don't need to
crazy,
go
man.
see what happened to your country or the whatever. You know, sum it all up and fucking toss it over there. Um, whatever that description was in a Mass Effect one, it was like it was brief and um, I enjoyed it.
The weirdest part about Earth in Mass Effect is that Earth is still not under a unified nation, despite having extended out into space.
Um, yeah. So, anyways,
Like there are countries on planet Earth in Mass Effect that are like, we don't want to do space stuff. We're good here. While the Systems Alliance is bringing back like Turian and fucking Korean technology, and there's like, no, don't want it.
and I mean so that's also kind of what was fascinating about what was the Shadow Brokers race, the original, or not the original, but
Hold on,
the
you know,
Yardat.
the Lorax. It's the Lorax.
No, I'm thinking of Ardat Yakshi.
The Yout,
Yog, the Yog, where it's like, what the fuck is that? It is scary. It is a huge problem, and
Don't raise them up.
it is stuck on land. They don't have space-faring technology. Good. Yeah. Keep them down there. Yeah. That is interesting. Okay.
So yeah, I'll be looking forward to your final thoughts once you've beaten Arrival. Hey man, Arrival's not the strongest DLC like when it released in terms of like, you know, like Shadow Broker's the best one. like period.
It's a lot of fun, and they also
But
put the memes in, so you get the jokes in.
Yeah, you like
know?
memes. Hey
Yeah.
man, you are gonna love Arrival.
Great. I thought the what was the one with the autism superpowers?
That was Overlord.
Yeah, that was interesting. I originally was like, "Are we doing a useless flying vehicle thing?" And it's like, "Oh no, there's a thing going on here and whatever." And then the builds up to that.
We have here is awesome.
Right. But like the amount going on in that Shadow Broker stuff in terms of just like, here's all the things that everyone laughed at, all the gifts. You want to see more punches to more reporters? Man. You want fucking gamer profiles for your Legion? Here you go. The main game wouldn't dare, but the DLC will.
Do you want to go through fucking Tally's Amazon purchase history and find out how many vibrators she's buying?
Nerve Stim Pro, baby. Nerve Stim Pro. Deactivated, reactivated, deluxe edition. Yeah.